Good afternoon. I've got very little time today, so hopefully I'll get through this pretty quickly. Wanted to go over the N's and the O's on the watch list, which I've got around to doing last night. Yeah, that's about it. So I won't go into Bitcoin too much. I'll just sort of update from yesterday because I did quite a lot of detail yesterday. So yesterday, obviously, I said, it was kind of relatively unclear, although I did have the low time frame entry for Bitcoin. But I was looking for that confluence of Korea hitting the 2-day demand, and also a swing failure of the high on US dollar dominance. So we got both those things, so that was pretty good. And gave a fairly nice entry. The bounce today isn't as strong as I would have liked. Partly what isn't great is we did make a 2-day and a daily supply on CME, and also we've got a 3-day and a 2-day on Korea, although it's not anywhere near those. But Korea's got hung up at the just an 8-hour demand lower down, whereas at least the US dollar pair and CME have flipped the 8-hour. So hopefully we'll get a bit more of a push from here. On the lower time frame, that's basically what I was saying yesterday, that I wanted an entry down in this area, 93k area. I thought we might go a bit lower based on some walls that we had there, but I haven't looked at the walls for at least a week and a half, so we didn't get the lower. Maybe we'll go back, I don't know. So today I was looking at how much we kind of retrace, and I thought, hopefully with the weakness of supply that I thought, well, it was worth watching this 2-hour demand, so I put an aggressive entry there, which obviously had a nice bounce off it, but it's still struggling with local supply on that. I also had an entry down on this 30-minute 1-hour demand at the bottom, which wasn't tested after the initial pump, and it doesn't have to come back there. And then this entry in the middle, I've only added as an alert since we've hit this one, but I also said, okay, there's equal lows here from today, so it's possible we went down to take out the lows. If we'd come straight through this zone down there, I probably wouldn't have taken that. But given we've bounced off this, if it does reject here and comes back down slowly, this is still an option, I think. So that's Bitcoin, and as I said yesterday, on from a breakout perspective, like anyone who's trading the higher time frames, you're looking, for these stops to be taken up here, a decent close up here, and then a retest of whatever new demand we've got for any higher time frame long entries. That's pretty much it on Bitcoin. Ether is sort of similar, so we didn't get I wanted. Ideally lower on the Korea pair, down on this 2-week demand, but we haven't got anywhere near there, and we weren't anywhere near, so I wasn't expecting that yesterday particularly anyway. We did get the bounce as I wanted. I'll show you in a moment on 30-minute demand in here. But again, we've got daily supply and on Korea and CME, so it's we're pushing now to try and get through those. I think I've got it on CME, although I haven't actually drawn it properly. Yeah, it was lower down, but also CME was in daily demand, so it's a bit of a mix. But Korea was the bigger risk here because it did close with a daily supply, whereas the US dollar pair didn't. However, we're supported by 2-day demand, so I'm kind of okay with this, but it's still just a very tight consolidation and needs to just decide if it's going to take off or not from here. Let me just check my connections. Seems okay so far. So on the lower time frame, Ether was basically the same as Bitcoin. So I said yesterday there were these two zones that I was looking at in here, 15-minute just taking out the low of Monday, or the possibility of going into this 30-minute that was just missed back, when was this, the 13th, and taking out Thursday's low as well. So we got the lower entry and a really nice bounce from there. Similarly, we had a 2-hour demand here. We were coming down quicker than Bitcoin, so I did say this one might go deeper inside it, so I still held the 2-hour demand, but it did come down to this 10-minute inside it, and again is still pushing to try and get through supply. Similarly, I had the possibility of, if we get a bigger retrace of the 30-minute and hourly demand down here, possible entries if we come back there later. And then I also added this one. There's an untested 10-minute there again, just taking out London low into the start of the day. And daily demand, because also, so we've got the overarching 8-hour demand here, so this 8-hour level hasn't been tested yet, so that was kind of the nicest level that I liked immediately into the 8 hour. But again, we'll see. Like, Ether does like to go to the 61 fib, so at the moment I'm not loving that neither of these are at the 61 fib, so that could still be too high. But then also I wanted to wait and see what we do off this 2 hour. If we're going to make a new high here, then the 61 may end up higher, so we'll see. So Ether again, you know, like I say, it's just, are we going to manage to finally break this tight daily range and make a close above, what's that, sort of around above 2750 to flip some demand in here. And you know, similarly with Korea and CME, are we actually going to get some decent demand off this? Yeah, so just not much movement again today, just low time frame stuff. And as I say, I don't have a great deal of time, so I'm going to go into the N's and the O's pretty quickly. So I've had a few of the M's hit from yesterday, L's and M's. MEMEFI was one I kind of liked here, but to be honest, I only liked it because it had a decent candle on Friday and it was one of the ones that was pushed up, but it was still in 12-hour supply, so it's still a risk entry, and it's just testing that daily zone there now. What else are the M's and N's? I haven't got any of the others on here actually. L3 was another one there, but this was one I was very indecisive on. If you did watch the analysis, that we were coming off 2-week supply and I'd had short entries there. But we have this sort of larger monthly demand, so I wasn't sure if we were going to hold this as a higher low, but I said I'd just throw the alert in to see. But this is likely to chop in here a little bit. There's now a 12-hour supply above, so. And then a few others that have come through. ALPHAOFSOL hit this daily. I thought this could blast through all those stops, and it has. And Duck was one, again, it was an aggressive entry here, so again we'll see if that holds. GFM is similar, like it's just no, very little data on GFM. It's a very new chart unless it's got history on DEX Screener. So again, just seeing if we're holding this zone for another push on that. Oh, and FLAY. FLAY was one I did mention in the group to watch. Like, I'm not sure if this is, this was like a listing pump, I think. Maybe a futures listing on it on Mexi. I'm not sure, I can't remember. I remember writing it was a listing pump, but I can't remember if it maybe got listed on Binance or something. And it was coming back in to test this 2 week, and you can see that the demand here, I suppose the demand is very choppy, so we're drifting a little bit into that zone, but it, on the 2 week it does look pretty clean, so it's worth keeping an eye on this to see if we are going to get a decent move. Just given, it's going to have a 5-day supply in there now, which isn't ideal, but we'll probably have that by the end of the day unless we get some decent move in the next few hours. So yeah, like what I'm really looking at with alts is just to try and trade ones that don't have immediate supply. I'm going through the N's and N's. There really weren't very many of those, quite honestly. And this, again, I'm just going to share all my alerts with you, but I'm not... but the same comments that I've made in all the previous videos apply, basically, that we've got this chop here, 3 week, 2 week, 5-day, various on the different ones, different also, they all look relatively similar in this area, just depending on how much they've chopped and how much they've dropped between each zone. A lot of them are down in these demands now, 3 week, monthly, or they've broken lows, so it's just a question of, are we going to get a lower high? So, something like this, obviously, there is some history on this before what I have here, so let's just look. Okay, yeah, so KuCoin's got a bit more history, so, again, it's just a triangle, this could really still go either way. But yeah, my concern on the short side, again, is these stops through here. So, and I'm seeing a mix from the ones that have hit already. We've got some that are just rejecting straight off the zone like you'd expect, and then we've got others that are kind of running higher inside, and those tend to be where there's a zone above that isn't tested. Like in some cases we've got a 5-day or something up here that hasn't been tested. I quite like this NAVX chart anyway, it's an interesting chart. Obviously didn't quite hit the 3-day at this high, so, but it does have a monthly supply. So again, a lot of these now have monthly supplies, and I think it's going to be critical the end of the month whether we're going to get a 2-month supply, because a lot of stuff at the moment is set to make a 2-month supply, and if they do, then we're going to probably see a bigger down move. The monthlies aren't very clean, but the 2 months will be. So that's something to watch out for, and we really want to get a decent bounce in the next 10 days before to try and negate some of those 2 monthlies, because in a lot of cases they're quite close to price. Anyway, NAVX is a little bit of space to supply, so that's pretty nice, but as you can see I've just alerted that 2-week, 3-week inside there. It's already hit long entry at the lows. I think this didn't have, yeah, and the problem I've got on a lot of these is that, you know, they're not giving me decent demand here, so I'm going to be looking, a lot of them today are looking like they're going to create 5-day supply, so if they do, we can potentially look for those to flip to demand. So I'm looking for like really the 3 days to 5 day, because the dailies are so choppy. So on this, for example, you know, if you wanted to take a long on this, which I probably wouldn't because we're too close to a monthly, but if this creates a 4-day demand in the next couple of days, or a 3-day, actually it's already got a 3-day in there, so I haven't done all the very low time frames on all of the alts, but yeah, so if they have made 3-day demands and things like that, and they're coming off decent lows, then by all means take aggressive longs. Like I put some in on some of them and not on others, so it's just variable, just so I've got a selection of alerts across the board. But that's NAVX anyway, so no long entries at the moment, although this 3-day would have been decent, and then short possibly on that monthly supply. NC is looking a bit more ropey, so this is one that I did have an aggressive long on, so I've got a short up here on weekly supply if we get there. I think I did have an aggressive long on this because it did make a 4-day just about demand, very, very weak demand. But unfortunately it's not really bouncing terribly well at the moment. So it does have a daily sitting in here. But again, as I explained, if you watched yesterday's video, very critically, we're looking at the last, so in this case it's on the 8-hour, but in most cases it's the 12-hour or the daily, but we're looking at the last down move. This is the last 8 hours supply, although actually there is another 8-hour in there. So here it did break the 8-hour, it retested, and then it's gone back up to the next 8-hour. But really, I mean, this probably I'd be looking more at the daily, but while you're trading here, you're just trading in a range. This is not any demand that we make in here. Isn't strong demand until we get a significant move through supply. So while if the market's in the right place, we may get a bounce, it's not necessarily going to be it's not the most confident of trades. So there's that. Yeah, not much new here, so NC possibility of a bounce here, but it was a weak demand and is looking slightly ropey now. And again, also we watch out for obviously whatever the local supply is. So here we've got 12-hour and 8-hour supply there, so obviously yes, we've got the bounce, but it's come straight back up into supply and hasn't really made new demand to support, so it can certainly go deeper in the zone, if not continue to break down. NEIRO CTO, this was a sort of a last hurrah level, I think, on the, so that's green is 2 hours, so that's like on a 2-hour or 1-hour demand there. Possible it picks up here. So I think that this was an 8-hour, and I did have an alert for a long on this 8-hour, but it's come through into a 2-hour just below. So it is actually a reasonable level for it to hold. Let me show you over here. Because we do quite often get this. So you can see there's like, this is a choppy sort of 8-hour, but there's a clean 2-hour underneath it. So that's what it's held in for the moment, but my alert, like I say, was higher on the 8-hour. The only problem with this, yeah, so it's not exactly strong as yet, and may create a 5-day supply. So this might be a decent short actually. If we get the close down here on the 5-day candle in the next 6 hours, then you could possibly take a short down to this 2-month level down. So here we've got a 2-month and then we've got a weekly inside it. So that would be where I'd look for longs on this. To the upside, but it's just a lot of chop. So we've got this weekly in the middle to the point we broke that weekly, or that 5-day. So I'd look at first for shorts there, but again, it's one of the choppy ones. It's, you know, there's a 4-day in here, there's a 3-day there, so it's hard, there's a 3-day throughout. So it's, again, I've explained this many times before, you know, is this just going to pump straight through all the supply here and go all the way up to the top? It's possible. So yeah, just be wary of that, and obviously no limit orders. But yeah, my preferred long entries would be lower, but it could hold here, so you can keep an eye on it if you want to get a long on that, if it doesn't create 5-day supply. NEIROETH, so this has created a monthly. I've been again slightly more aggressive on the alert, the 2-week supply there. I think the monthly already been tested. Yeah, so it created a monthly supply on the December candle, and then it's tested it here for the next move down. So then it's made, you know, obviously it's got a 2-week supply in here that hasn't been tested, so I think that's worth looking for a short. and then failing that, it could go up higher back to the top of the wave, because again, there's an untested zone higher. Obviously on this, I've got no long entries at the moment, so yeah, you know, it's possible it swing failed this, you know, the starting candle on MEMEFI, whether that's a legitimate low, I don't really know. And again, like a lot of other stuff, it's created a daily demand in here, which it may or may not hold now, having not broken daily supply, or 2-day supply in this case. So yeah, what I'd like to see with these types of things, you know, is just some consolidation through here, because while it looks like at this point halfway decent, you know, it's not dissimilar to this. So we could get, yeah, just an equivalent move, you know, this just drops a bit lower and then falls off another cliff. So it's still very early days, you know, that would be the same daily demand that potentially you could take a long in here now. Having said that, you know, it's not a bad trade if you want to, like, given we've got the low here, if you wanted to take a long now with your stop below here, then it is what it is, you know, either it's going to work or it's not. So that's up to you. That's NEIROETH. NEIRO, another one that's pretty ugly, so this is uglier. It's obviously fallen back below wherever the all-time low was on MEMEFI, and it's looking also, sorry, this has been happening a lot today, my computer downstairs is off, so I don't understand why. Anyway, it's another one that might create a 5-day supply, so if it does, you can potentially look for aggressive shorts on this. At the moment, it's got 2-day, 3-day supply above there, and then I've alerted the weekly if it gets back up there for a retest. This may create, so there's a possible 3-month supply in there, and it may also create the 2-month, I think. So I might be more aggressive on shorting if this creates 2-month supply. But anyway, just, I mean, the whole market is at the point that it could turn around. So again, I don't want to be aggressively shorting. So in these cases, I'm not going to be shorting these new daily zones. You can short maybe here. And I don't want to short, like, for example, this daily in the range. Like, I'd rather, because it's possibly swing failed the low, so I'd rather see a bit more on this. But if it does create a 5-day, then I'd be more inclined to potentially look for shorts. NEO was kind of interesting. So yeah, NEO. So it's coming off an annual supply up here, and the challenge with the ones with the more history are, you know, is this a consolidation for, you know, the next big move up? And I feel like the answer is no, but I don't want to go on my feelings. But this is, you know, this could either be a bear flag, you know, which is now looking to break down for another down move, or it can be a consolidation for an up move. Excuse my, that's so annoying. So it could go either way. Overall, we're in a 3-month demand here, but it's like, you know, it's hit 1, 2, 3. We're now the 4th hit on it. I did already have an alert for the 2-week inside it for a long entry down here. So I just want to see a bit more follow up on this. I went slightly more aggressive on the short entry on this because I think that, so the 3-week, it's potentially going to have a monthly in there, so I might look for a short there, but the 3 weeks already been tested. But yeah, it might have a monthly supply, so if it does push into this 4-day, you can potentially look for a slightly more aggressive short on that. But you know, I'm assuming that this is going to come at least, you know, well, I want this to at least fill some of the wick, if not come down lower. And then yeah, there's a daily up here, but yeah, like, I'm a little bit indecisive on what this structure is going to do overall, to be honest. And some of this chop just makes it hard, you know, now, like, I don't know. Again, you know, this is an uptrend, so this could just go straight through this supply now. What I'd at least want to, but, you know, we do have cleaner, we've got a 3-week supply up here. You know, what I do want to see, at least, you know, I'm going to just see what happens when we get these retests. You know, if we do get the retest of supply in here, in both cases here and here, it's gone through it. So it's possible the same can happen again, but I'd like to see a bit more consolidation on this first. You know, at least this had, you know, well, 7 or 8 weeks probably there, and probably a few months there before the move. So, you know, if we do hang out here for a couple of months, then I think it's, you know, the short's going to become lower probability. NFP, another one that's looking pretty ugly and breaking down, so it's made a monthly supply. It's probably going to have a 2-month in there. I've gone more aggressive on short on this on 5-day supply. just inside or 4-day supply, just because again it's at the point of the breakdown, at the point of support break, so I would like to see the test there potentially for a drop, and then failing that 3-week supply above. NKN, another one's a little bit messy, so I've got an alert all the way down here on 6-month demand, so it's different to NEO, but sort of similar in that it's one of the ones with history and the long consolidation. This was sort of pushing up and now it's come back down lower, but we are properly in demand, whereas those lows hadn't properly hit demand. We've had an up move off this demand, but again it hasn't, it's swing failed in the monthly supply here into weekly at the top, but now it's dropping and it's got a lower high. So it's a challenging one because what it also has is a swing failure of the low. So again, I talked about this a bit yesterday when I was doing the L's and M's, that again, like I don't know if this is a swing fail. I don't know if it's actually taken out the low, by like 0.02 cents. If that is a swing fail of the low, then we could go back for a swing fail of the high. But again, I want to see a bit more, and it hasn't given me anything for a new long entry in here right now. But you can watch the follow up there. And this is, again, the supply here is just a little bit choppy. So while I've got, I haven't actually put the alert on that, that's not helpful. So what do we have in here? We had, so we had a weekly supply. Let's add that. So there's a weekly supply there, it's clean, 3 weeks already tested above, so again, worth watching. It's a bit wicky throughout there, but again, it's it looks clean on the weekly at least, so worth watching, but not the highest probability short entry there. NMR, go back to higher time frame. So this actually doesn't look also very different to NKN in that it's just a sideways move. It's had a move up and it's retraced it, it's had a bounce, but it's made a lower high. So, and now it's come down making a lower low again, could be a swing failure. If it's a swing failure, then maybe we are going to get a decent up move from this, but we do have a lot of supply to get through first. I think I put the 2-month supply in this already, but it isn't confirmed yet. It does have a monthly in there too, so again, because of the monthly supply, I'm more confident, looking for shorts on that 3-week. Clean 3-week supply inside the monthly, so I'd be looking for rejection there. But again, this is one of the ones that's got the challenge that it's got an untested 5-day up here. So is it going to rush through or wick through this 2-3 week and get to the higher zone? It's possible. Similarly, we are on a 3-month demand down here, so this is a reasonable place for a low as well. So yeah, there's not much to say on that other than, it's just sort of chopping around. So a lot of things looking like this, just chopping around in the mid-range, and you just need to take scalps. If we get these lower moves, then I'd look for potentially for bigger longs because we've taken out like significant lows. So this is a low that didn't manage to make a higher high. So if we take that out, go deeper into demand and hold, then it's possible we can make the higher high off that. Not with one of the ones looking pretty ugly. So this is obviously a bigger downtrend. We made a monthly supply, rejected it. We made another monthly supply, and I think it also got rejected. So yeah, that also got tested and rejected. There is an untested 3-week in here and an untested 3-week there, so it's a bit difficult. And I think I initially had this 3-week, the upper 3-week alerted. But then I thought, well, this is actually broken down, so it's possible this might give a more aggressive short entry. So we can see what happens if we come into that 2-day, given that's the point of breakdown. And then failing that, I'd be looking back up in this monthly supply. This does have a 2-day demand in there and had an untested 12 hours. So again, just in the interests of having some aggressive long possibilities, that's something you can look at for a long. However, it's not high probability. Like I would prefer to be doing this when we're in some sort of a demand to the left. But given, we've got this wick and it hasn't quite, it hasn't hit the 2-day supply up there, then maybe we can get a move again if the market supports longs at that point in time. And that's really what this comes down to for me. If longs are supported at the time these zones hit, then we are going to get some sort of a reaction. It's had a couple of daily supplies in there that have already been tested, so maybe this 2-day will hold here, but I would like to see it take out those lows and then hold this 12-hour, and that could be a nice entry. It's had at least had a decent retracement of the wick. NPC, so this is another one that's just been a slow adrift of death downward. I've got an alert here below, there's a 5-day demand and then a 2 weeks, so if it's not going to swing fail this 3-day zone, then maybe we'll get down here. There's a whole lot of chop on this, so I really didn't like this when I was looking for where to put shorts, because so it's got a 3 week at the top is already tested. It's got no 2 week on it, or the 2 week right at the top as well. And then a weekly in here that got tested, another weekly that got tested and it's dropped. So again, in the interest of continuing the high time frame downtrend, I've kind of gone for 5-day, 3-day supply in here, and we'll see like that wick's come pretty close. So I don't know if it's going to work if it comes back up there, but again, worth watching. And then failing that, there are, obviously we've still got the weekly supply in here, but due to the fact it's been tested, it's just too choppy for me, so I'd probably look for higher if we do manage to get a decent move. Then it's possible we are going to look at taking out some of those stops if we can get past the first area of resistance. And on this, there's a 3-day in there and there's a 2-day. So as I said, I'm not drawing all the 1-day, 2-day because we've had so much of a slow drift down. This so far is obviously not showing any sign of reversal. I'd rather have this lower, but if this does come back up and flip the zone, then you could potentially look for longs and hope it takes out those stops. NS is another pretty ugly one. I did have an alert on this for a long though, just on the basis that maybe it'll swing fail this low. It was aggressive, I said it was aggressive in the alert, this has just gone off. And then we do have a 4-hour down here, so it's not necessarily going to hold this level, and it's not looking great right now. I'm not sure what Bitcoin's doing. That can watch the 4-hour down here if you want to as well, but again, that's breaking back through the low. So, if this is going to hold, I'd kind of like it to hold the orange level for a possible move up. It's also another one that's, it's just in daily supply, so again, it's still retaining the downtrend on the daily, so this is a risk hope entry, not a valid strong entry. And then up here we've got 3-week supply, possible short entry, and some of that chop on the 5-day and the daily, etc. below that. But yeah, I'd look at the 3-week supply there for possible short entries if we get up there. NTRN is another one that's pretty ugly, and is looking like it's going to create a weak 5-day supply, weak because of the wick, but again, that's something you can potentially look at shorting if this confirms by the end of the day. And then monthly up here, monthly and 3-week supply would be where I'd be looking for add-on shorts if we get back up there. And again, I don't know what the bottom of this is, so yeah, it looks, again, if it's up to you to go and look back at Dex Screener and things like that if you want, to try and get a better idea of where the bottoms will be. Okay. So yeah, that's NTRN, so if possible short there and possible short in here, aggressive short if you want it. NULS. So NULS is kind of interesting. It's a bit like, was it NEO that I looked at earlier, that it could go either way. It's in a giant sideways consolidation. It can go either way on the basis that we do have like a yearly, oh no, that's not a yearly level, it's a reverse yearly level, I think. Yeah, so I mean, it did actually make a yearly supply, so maybe I shouldn't be as confident on this, but anyway, like it does have a 3-month demand. It's actually got a higher 3-month level here as well. So, it's had an up move, it's dropped, it's made a 3-month demand, gone up, tested, gone up a lot, and now it's come back to test the start of that up move. So it is, while it doesn't look great on the supply side, so again, it's just really in a large triangle, it is testing 3-month demand down here, and it hasn't quite hit the level, in fact, so I did set the alert for if we get another test back down there. This potentially is going to create a 2-month supply, so it's one of the ones that's got the risk of 2-month supply, and I have alerted for a short on a 5-day at that level. It's also a monthly level as well. So I think you can see by the 3 crosses again, this is not a clean, it's not particularly clean. So this is aggressive on a 5-day supply or 4-day supply. There is an untested 3-week up here. There's an untested 5-day at the top there too. So, and you can see the chop on the lower time frame. So again, I'm just looking for whether we're going to get an initial reaction off here to potentially get us down into this 3-month demand. Although having said that, this, you know, that again, it's swing failed the low, so it's got that additional challenge that, so, you know, while I'm trading these as supply and demand, you know, we're now very much in ranges, much more than in trending environment. And when you're in a range, while I like supply and demand in ranges to some extent, what you can't do then is be too aggressive. So for example, you know, if this is your big range, then shorting here and here is not very high probability. There might be higher probability, or somewhere up here, because this is your range. So I need to see some of these hit and whether they're going to start to break. NYAN, another pretty ugly one. So this did create a weekly supply, so I have put an alert on that aggressively. There's a monthly up there, should it ever get back up there. There's a 5-day inside this weekly, so, you know, be careful if it does come up higher. It's a weekly zone, is a weekly zone, it's a large zone. It also has, you know, it's made a daily just underneath it, and it has rejected off that. So again, I don't even know if we're going to get back to this possible entry, but we shall see. But obviously that has no bottom, so there's no long entries. OGN. So OGN has come down and very close to tapping this low, but it hasn't taken it out. So I just did set an alert on there, you know, if it comes back and wants to either break down. So for the, as I've said before, either, you know, you're looking for a swing fail at that black cross, or you're looking at a break down and retest for a bigger drop. And OGN, I think, is also one of the more bearish ones. So one, it's a bit messy, and sorry, it's very messy on the high time frame. Just remind myself. So yeah, it did make an annual supply. It hasn't got a recent annual supply, but it had a higher time frame annual supply. I haven't really got the level in there, but that would be the level. But it's the open of the candle on Binance, so I don't love it. But it's got the 6-month supply, it's gone back up inside, it's broken down. So again, like, my expectation on this is that it should take out the low, but I mean, well, so no, correct that. It has come up and already taken out the low, but it hasn't bounced and continued to go back through supply for it to be a swing failure on a high time frame swing failure of the low based on this wick down in July, the July candle last year. So it's come back up and it's just rejected 3-month supply before coming back down again. So this again, it needs a bit more time. Is it going to create, if it creates 3-month, 2-month supply in there, then I'd be much more inclined to short. But, you know, for now it's again bottom of the range, so I don't want to short right down here. So I went slightly less aggressive on this, on the basis that maybe this is done at the low there. You know, and this is like one of the examples that I said. So you can see here that it's hit 4-day supply and it's actually that yearly level. So this is possibly, you know, that, so this is one of, this would be a more aggressive entry, and it's why, you know, puts validity to giving some of the more aggressive entries, but ones that haven't bounced this hard yet. You know, that it is rejecting our 4-day supply here. So while, you know, even if it does make a higher low and continue up from here, again, I haven't looked at the lower time frames on this. Yeah, it hasn't got a daily demand in there, but it's might have a 12 hours. It's got a 12-hour down here. So again, you can look for a long there if you want to, if you want to aggressive long. In fact, that's already hit, but you know, there's nothing wrong with looking for shorts aggressively on these zones, and then, you know, if it works, you know, bring a stop to break even, because then, you know, if it does make a higher low, then it'll probably come back and take you out. But at least it's worth a try to get that continuation. OG. This reminds me of Doggy Coin, actually, to be frank. It's got a big 3-month supply up here, and it's gone right to the top, and then it's rejected it again, and now it's got a 3-month demand in here. But I actually quite like this, just given what the structure's done previously, and like I say, it's like Doggy Coin. That you know, it's now back at demand. I think again it didn't quite hit the level, so again you know, maybe I'm too late, maybe I'm not, but I put another alert there if it does come back down again. It does have 3-week supply above that it's already tested, and a 2-week and a weekly. So I think because of the structure, I didn't want to put any shorts on this. But this, I think, if this does get consolidation through here, we should definitely be keeping an eye on this. So OG is something should be on the radar. Again, I've got this monthly supply here, but it has hit multiple times. So, and yeah, given it's got the 3-month demand and the monthly that it's coming off down here, this could get another decent up move. It likes to do that. Like I say, similar to a doggy coin. OL's another one that's pretty ugly. It's just got just a bit too much chop through here, so it's rejected daily supply. It might make a new 5-day in there. So again, possibly you can get an aggressive short on that if you want. Might make a weekly as well later. Then we do have a 5-day, and a weekly, and then a 5-day and another daily at the top. So again, it could just reject any of these levels. So I've been slightly more conservative and just gone, okay, we've got a 5-day up here. It's at the point of previous resistance on these wicks. So again, worth watching around here if we come back up, but obviously be conscious that this can run through a few things up there if it wants to. Just not much chart on this. This could just suddenly get some strength and run through everything, to be honest. So I think this is a potentially one that's worth watching, but it hasn't got demand to support any up move as yet. OMG, I think they keep threatening to delist this, but last I read it had been delayed yet again from I think it was delisted off Binance, and that was one of the bigger, maybe this drop. And then it's made a comeback, but it's still on all the futures, but I think it's been delisted off Binance Spot. But anyway, like, it does have an annual supply, so I thought, well, I might as well just put one alert up there. And again, this has got that 3-week, 2-week in there, but it's all been tested already. I don't want to put any longs on this because of the delisting possibility, because that will then just throw it off a cliff. So yeah, if we do come back up into an untested daily up there, if we do come back up there, you can potentially look for shorts, but I don't know if it will or not. And also may make 3-month supply here the next month, so a while to go on that. But yeah, just see what we get on that. If it does give a random wick up to the annual zone, worth looking for shorts. A quick sip of water. OMNI is another pretty ugly one. Monthly supply, it's got an untested 3-week, 2-week inside it, so I've left that. We'll put the alert there for that, and then we'll just see what happens. I don't think so. Yeah, it's just kind of starting to do a bit of a sideways move here, and obviously no support, so I don't really know if this is going to hold here. Depends what the rest of the market does. It's just guessing at this point. But yeah, that would be where I'd look for shorts. OM is obviously probably pretty much the strongest crypto chart there is at the moment, and this is something I actually called a really long time ago and then completely forgot about. So I was very bullish on it through here and was trying to, I got far too early a long entry there and then this long entry. Still looking at scalp shorts at the same time. But I think at this point in time was one of the strongest charts as well, so I was quite bullish, and then it's just gone up and kept going, and I don't think I've looked at it since last year. Or I had an entry. I think I had entry on this weekly, and then I had an entry on this monthly, and then it just doesn't come back to test. And basically, it's done exactly the same thing to me here. So I did have an alert. So on the 2-week, it's got this sort of 2-week inside, and then a 2-week level there. So I put the alert just above the higher 2-week. Just to see, but even that managed to front run, so that's rather irritating. And now it's difficult because, is this just going to go up forever, or is this going to suddenly find a time to fall off a cliff? So I don't know. Like a similar here, we had a big up move and we had a sideways consolidation and another couple of pushes, and then it did come back to test that consolidation. So I think now it's kind of, while you can scalp longs on this because it is obviously still strong, I'd rather wait for it to come back down to this 2-week zone first. Obviously it's got a 4-day here, it's got a 3-day, so if you want to take scalp longs on a retest of these higher zones, that's entirely up to you, but that's obviously very, very strong chart, and no signs of weakening. ONDO, a lot of people are looking for longs on this, and while I do like it, I don't like it again to long now. It's a bit like LDO yesterday. If it was LDO, everybody's looking for longs, but it's just not where I want it to be to look for longs, while I think it's a strong chart. So this is similar, it's got a big 3-month demand, so while I really like that, it's big. It's had this big wick down into it. didn't quite hit, you know, there's a 2-week demand there and then a monthly inside it, so it hasn't quite hit here, which is where I'd like to have a retracement to. But then also, you know, if it's strong, it's had a big retracement here, you know, it could just hold this level at the top here. Having said that, you know, I would like to see some of this wick retrace, so I thought, you know, what the hell, and put a possible short entry, because I like counter trading crypto Twitter, and put a possible short entry on the 4-5 day supply here. So again, be aware that we are coming off 3 months demand, so this may fail dismally. The other issue is we've got this double top up here, so it could go for those equal highs and into this 2-day that hasn't been tested above. But I think the other reason my bearishness is, you know, we did make a 2-week supply, so it's got a 2-week supply, it's tested right at the top of it, it's tested again, and it's now dropping again. So while we did have, you know, it's obviously a very indecisive, what was that, Dragonfly Doji 2-week candle, I'd like to see this retrace more, and in a perfect world come back down to the buy zone down here. But at a minimum, again, I was looking at, you know, what's the 61 fib from that bounce, so this is still potentially, so we could get a bounce around here, so you can keep an eye on that area, but it's not something I'd alert because of the wick, and then possible short if we go and test there. So this has a yearly level, so I think this was one of the ones I actually quite liked on the high time frame. It's got a 6-month demand here. Wasn't a strong one, so I think it only closed very slightly above. Oh no, this one actually closed a bit more above. There's another one that closed very slightly above. This closed a bit more above, but again, it's still closed really on a swing failure with just a wick of the high. It's dropped right back down inside, but it's back down on monthly demand. It was one of the few to have held that. And again, this is remind me of NEO that I just talked about. You know, it's that similar. You know, is this a consolidation that's going to be bearish and fall off a cliff, or is it going to eventually break up? And this I've been more confident of than NEO, because actually don't have an alert down here. Must have got distracted halfway through when I was doing these things. But also I wouldn't necessarily want to have an alert all the way down here if it's going to go up now. It's a little bit far away and it wastes one of my very precious alerts. But yeah, so if we're going to move down into here, monthly demand, that would be great, but also this might hold from here. But I think, again, lower time frame, it hasn't given me anything. There's a 3-week supply that's untested here, so I thought it was worth an alert for that, although it has tested lower time frames. But again, there's nothing I want to long on this right now if I didn't catch the wick. And, you know, it is just a sort of sideways corrective move, so again, challenging entry, but you know, like I say, similar to NEO, this could just run straight through that supply. Given the higher time frame demand that it's coming from. And the other thing, I guess, is this, you know, again, made a slight double bottom there, so is this going to come down into this, either this 5-day demand, or, you know, all right down into my buy zone? Both would be nice. So again, just a bit too in the middle for me, but while I potentially like this chart. ONG and ONT, I think ONT, like, they tend to follow each other, and ONT I think I'm a lot more bearish on, but I'll get to that in a sec. But again, this is a challenging chart. It's got a big 6-month demand there, but it's hit. So it had a 6-month, it tested it, it's gone up, hit 3-month supply, and it's now back down testing it again. So I think it could go either way. It's got a local 3-month, 2-month demand, monthly demand in here that it's come back down into. So I just need to see a bit more on this, but I've just gone very, very conservative on entries because it's too sideways and in the middle, and I don't think it's particularly high probability any of the local zones. So if it comes up here 3-day, look for a short. If it comes down here to the monthly, 2-monthly, look for a possible long. But yeah, there's nothing I really want to be trading on this. It's too choppy. ONT, so this has annual supply, so I had a lot of short entries off there, and it did come down and it played out the annual supply by breaking that low, and then it's come back up, but it's also retested into 2-month supply and has dropped again. So again, like, I'm now becoming more bearish on this, but of the fact we're in a range and we're at the bottom of the range. So, you know, is this gonna, I feel like this looks similar to this. What did I notice? That something looked a little bit similar here. Oops, excuse me. It's my loud and aggressive alarm. yeah, I don't know. I mean, this it's the bottom of the range, so we could go back up again, but also it could equally just fall off a cliff here. So I think it's worth looking for shorts on this, because I think you could get a decent move if we do, if that's the right direction for it. But the problem is, again, the zones just weren't particularly clean. There is a weekly in there, but I'm not sure. I kind of went up higher. I think just because of being at the bottom of the range, I just think I feel that's too aggressive on the weekly, and the wicks in it. But maybe, and also, you know, if it's rejected the 4 day just below it, then, you know, maybe it's going to be gone already. I don't know. I want to say a little bit more on this, but similar to ONG, you know, it's just a bit too sideways-ish for me. OP. So this is back down in a 2-month demand down here. I kind of drew in this channel just because you never know, and like it didn't actually hit on this wick. My preferred long entry would be all the way down here, but it may not get there. Obviously it's just got wicks and it's still in this large zone, so again, could get a move up from here. But I kind of don't like this. This is very inverse head and shoulders-ish. Oops. Excuse my terrible drawing skills, but yeah, that's looking inverse head and shoulders-ish at the moment and could break down. Having said that, I'm not going to be shorting here because we're on 2-month demand. So what you can see in a lot of these, you know, they are on their swing failures or they're on their major demands. So, like, unless they're breaking down, I don't want to be shorting too aggressively. So on something like this might give you an up move from here, and it's probably it could potentially be one of the stronger ones if it gives you the right structure to trade from. It's got a monthly supply up here, so I've got a possible short entry if it hits the 3-week inside the monthly there. And yeah, I think I was looking at the lower time frame to this to potentially see if it's worth taking along, or calling along. So it did hit 2-day demand in here, which would have been nice if I got it, but it also had made a daily supply there. So again, I'm just unsure. But that is one that could pick up, so just keep an eye on it. Only a few left now. It's one of my shortest streams, shockingly. Random zone there. So orbs I think I liked as well. This is one of the ones I like. Yeah, so orbs I quite like. It's had a decent bounce, so I want it in this 6 month, that's the only thing. And the problem is I don't know if I've been front run here. So I've reset the alert for 1 month, 6 month demand if it comes back down there. I swear that 1 month keeps moving. I've moved that before. But yeah, anyway, like, I don't know if this has been front run, but if it comes back here, look for longs on this because I do like this chart. But having said that, it might have already moved. Yeah, so I haven't put any new shorts on this, just because, you know, if that is the low, then this could just run. Also because it's already tested this 3-week in here, so it's had that huge bounce and has tested straight back into the 3-week and is now just falling back off it again. So I do like this chart. This is not the time to buy though, so I need to see this come back down, preferably into there. And then I did also, I think, looked at the lower time frames here, but it's just not clean enough. But there is a 12-hour here, so you can look at that if you want. But coming off 3-week supply, I'm not overly confident. But yeah, because I like the chart, there's no new short entries on that. This is probably one of the nicer looking high time frame charts that I've seen in all the N's and O's today and yesterday. So yeah, keep an eye on that, and you know, if it can hold back on this yearly level at what's that, 20 cents. Then that might be a nice entry back in that 12-hour demand down there. So keep an eye on that one. Let me light a cigarette quickly. ORCA. So another one that's in monthly demand but coming off a swing failure. So I think I want this to break down the monthly demand. You know, it's only holding on a daily in the on the bounce here. So I think I'd like to see this down lower to look for like higher probability longs, and then 3-week supply up here would be potential for a short. Order. So it's another one on a huge 2-month demand. I did have an aggressive entry on a long entry on the daily here, which is kind of just about holding by the skin of its teeth. But I also had a short on 2-day supply there, and I put another short on weekly supply. So again, it's just trading the chop within the range. You know, it's had a really strong bounce off this low here, but again, I'd like to see this retrace down. Again, I just couldn't find somewhere that I really wanted to look for longs on this. Possibly on a retest of that 2-day, possibly on a retest of this 2-day. But I think this is worth watching for the possibility of getting a long entry. But I think it needs a bit more time, or probably a lot more time, because, you know, it's got this weekly up here. If it comes back up and tests that, drops again, you know, it could have a, you know, significant amount of time in the chop zone before actually running. ORDI, this is another one. So, like, I quite like this on the lower time frames. I think this is one of the ones that I actually really was going to say watch for a long. So mainly because it's just got a big gap to supply, whereas so many of the others are like faffing around under supply. I guess there might be a 12-hour in here, so it's kind of in the 12-hour at the moment. But so many of these haven't fallen this much, and therefore have this supplies are very, very close. So while I don't love the fact this has bounced kind of on nothing, or kind of on this 3-week level, and I would like the longs really on this 3 month down here, it has hit the 61 fib and could give a decent up move. So keep an eye on ORDI for the possibility of running up. Watch out, obviously, 4-day supply, 5-day supply, watch out for the initial, they'll take profits in these areas, and then I've got the bigger possible short up in the 2-month supply up there. And it's going to make a new 2-month, I don't know. There was a monthly inside the 2-month here that hasn't quite been tested, which is why, again, I've just been more conservative on this. It's also a chart I quite like on the higher time frame. 2 left, OSMO. So this is another very ugly one, you know, it's got its annual supply in there. So I've kind of gone, this one I've just gone very conservative on the short. There's an annual level there that hasn't been tested. So I'll keep an eye out if it goes all the way back up there. Excuse me. I've also put an alert on this low for the possibility of a swing fail or breakdown. The only reason I've been so conservative on this is because all these zones have been tested, so that doesn't necessarily mean I think it's going to get up there by any stretch of the imagination. But if you look at, so obviously I had the bigger 6-month supply, but it's made, there's a 3-week inside here, it's tested it, it's made another 3-week there, it's tested it, and then it's dropped. There's a 2-week inside that's also got tested. So there's no other zones that I can choose. There's a 2-week at the top here that's been tested, there's a 5-day here that's been tested, there's a 5-day here that's been tested. So there's nothing I really want to short more closer to price, just because it's too wicky and everything's already been tested, so there's no clean zones in there for me. Getting an error on my stream again. And yeah, where this is now, this is hitting a 3-day demand. So, you know, if you want to take a long here, you can. So this is a reasonable place to take a long. You know, if it may not come down to here, but you can keep an eye on that one and see if it picks up here. And like I say, because there's all these wicks here and because all those zones have been tested, it may just run through. I would watch out for kind of around this middle section maybe, because there's a 3-month level in there, which has obviously taken a swing failure. Let me see, I've just drawn it badly, so the 3 months should go up to there. You know, it has tested that 3-month level already and wicked through it, but you know, when they come back, there's also a monthly in there actually. Yeah, I'm not sure. So I mean, this might only, you know, maybe you'll get a move from the 3-day up until this monthly level, so there is a possibility that we get a rejection in that monthly there. But yeah, like I said, this is not something, I think there's better things to short than this. Because it could run just back through to try and test that. The other thing is if it has zones above that haven't been tested, sometimes it can just run straight back through to test those zones. And then finally we have OXT. So, and this is a reasonably nicer chart as well, but again, not something you can buy right now. That's the problem, even the nice charts are not things I want to buy immediately. So this is kind of made 6-month demand by a hair. It's got an annual zone up here that hasn't been tested. We are coming off a lower high, but we have a monthly demand there. So assuming this doesn't create a monthly supply, we've also got this big 3-month. So I'd like this lower, and I would like a long entry a bit lower if I get given it. And now we've made 3-week supply and rejected, we might get that drift down into this zone. But yeah, definitely keep an eye on OXT if it comes back down and tests that monthly zone. So anyway, that's all the N's and O's. A pretty quick stream for me today, 56 minutes. I hope that's useful. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Any questions, throw them in my Telegram chat. Please join Telegram as well, Elisa's charts, or message me at Elisa_crypto. Yeah, any requests also let me know. I think I've got no chatters today. My stream's a bit later than yesterday. But yeah, I hope that's useful, and have a good evening. Goodbye.